Hey, Icy Cat here. Today we're going to be talking about the newest patch that's going to be coming to the game. This was sort of a surprise patch that we weren't expecting. We were going to be getting patch 2.1 and then 2.2. This one lands sort of in between the two of them. It's a bit on the small size for individual items, but there are some surprises in it nonetheless. Patch update 2.2.1.1 will be released tomorrow, Tuesday, July 11th, on all platforms. So just to sort of fill you in for those that don't already know the way this works, is each of those numbers has a very specific meaning on where it is in the timeline for the year's content. So for instance, this would stand for Year 2, Season 2, Patch 1, and then the point 1 would designate an iterative update. The reason that that's important is because we were told that there were going to be two title updates coming out during Operation Health. Patch 2.2.1, that would be the last one that came out, is the one that gave us the Glaz nerf as well as the one-step matchmaking functionality. We were told that the next title update that came out was going to be patch 2.2.2, which would bring with it, among other things, alpha packs. Well, that's changed a little bit. And we do have some information on alpha packs and what's happening with that, and that they're coming actually a little sooner than we thought. But of course, we first learned about this title update last week when I did a video on it where they talked about how they were going to do this update as a way of focusing on some gameplay fixes regarding Hibana, among other things. A big problem with Hibana is that her gadget has caused a lot of problems since it first came out, where it would cause, glitches in the game, or the pellets might appear to begin igniting and then they would just suddenly stop and nothing would happen and the gadget would essentially be dead. The reason that one was happening was actually because of something that they call net objects, and these are different states that are tied to every character in the game. There's one regarding a player's position, maybe another one for the weapon, another one for the gadget, another one for the gadget's locations around the map if there's something that you can deploy. And so different operators have a different amount of these depending on what they can all do. Hibana actually wound up having the most of these net objects in the game because each of her pellets had its own net object associated with it. Because she can fire out 3 sets of 6, that's up to 18 pellet net objects that are in play in the game. Then you combine that with her position in the game, as well as maybe the status of the launcher, or whether a weapon is reloaded or not in the game, and these other things, she winds up having a ton of potential net objects that have to communicate, way more than any other operator that there is. And of course the reason for that is that each pellet can be individually destroyed, or when you shoot them, if they hit a blocked surface, it will get destroyed in mid-flight, and so each of them has to have their own independent object associated with it. Tracking all of these objects created some problems, especially considering that they were happening under local authority instead of host authority, which is a fancy way of saying server-side or client-side, and what its priority is within that stack. Well, as a way of dealing with this, they've tweaked it a bit and changed some things with streamlining, and they've also made it so that it takes server-side priority instead of local priority, and that's going to cut down on a lot of these issues. There's also some other fixes that have gone on with her gadget too. Another one has to deal with the way that if you would aim the launcher between 2 reinforced walls, you might see the shape of their distribution change a little bit and some strange things would happen there. They've set it up so that now, even if you're going across multiple panels, they should spread out the way you would anticipate them to, and you shouldn't have any problems anymore. There was also a previous glitch where you could fire off a set and then shoot a second set and begin the detonation process while the second set was still in mid-air, so that both sets would ignite at the same time when it landed. They changed it so that you can no longer take advantage of that. And then one other problem would happen where sometimes when you would detonate them, the pellets would still remain on the wall after they had blown up. Going forward, this won't happen anymore. All of the pellets should properly be destroyed once the charge has been set off. They still want everybody to be aware that the process to recode Hibana's gadget is kind of an ongoing thing, and these fixes take care of a vast majority of those issues, but that doesn't mean everything is quite finalized with all of the bugs relating to her gadget just yet. Then we have a couple of changes regarding some maps. On Coastline, in the blue bar, there were some walls that weren't reacting properly to destruction. So because of that, they've gone through, they've rebuilt the walls, and they've made sure that the destruction is properly handled across the entire wall surface. That's not as flashy, but this next one is actually a little bit more significant. In the last patch update, 2.2.1, we had seen that they took a measure to address the problem of spawn killing on Canal in the construction spawn. And the way that they handled that was that they actually just took the window that's in the control room overlooking that spawn site, and they just slapped a metal wall panel on it, reinforced it. You can't shoot through it anymore. And there was a few problems with that. The first one is that there was actually a way to get up on top of a deployable shield in such a way that you could still kind of hang out the window and hit that spawn anyway. It didn't really do anything to address that particular problem. And also, it now took away a tool from the defenders to be able to knock attackers off the windows on that side in front of that window. That left the only way of dealing with those windows to be having somebody to come out the bottom of the structure and hit them from below, but all the attackers really had to do was put a claymore on the one door, and if they tried to come out to get them, it would go off, and then there was nothing that they could really do about it. The community was definitely not happy about that change, so they've gone back now and taken some time to go over a different way of handling this problem. And the solution they came up with is this. As you can see by the picture here, what they've done is they've added something for cover so that when you're in that spawn, you will not get hit. All this does is it prevents you from being killed when you spawn into the world. When you leave the spawn, you can still get shot coming out of it. Everybody that starts in the spawn has a tendency to run straight forward up and over the hill. That is the lane that will get peaked the most and result in frequent deaths. If you're still worried about getting killed in that spawn lane as you exit, I would suggest that you take the more indirect routes either to the left, back behind that main building there, or go to the right, closer to the dock, and go along the shipping canisters. Now, I've saved the alpha packs for last because the information here is a little inconclusive. So initially, these weren't supposed to come until patch update 2.2.2. But they realized that as they continue to work on improving the game, they realized that deploying a smaller patch in between the two big ones was going to give them a chance to free up some resources and focus more on the work that they wanted to complete before the end of Operation Health. To be absolutely clear, they say that the alpha packs will not be available immediately after tomorrow's update. For those of you that don't know, alpha packs are a way to introduce a chance-based loot system that contains a lot of cosmetic items. So we're talking like weapon skins, charms, headgears, things like that you can earn and unlock as you play. They have a rarity structure, which means that some items will be very common, others might be in the very rare legendary tier, and then you'll have some tiers in between as well. The start of this will be a staggered activation across every platform in an effort to ensure the most stable deployment possible. And they say that they understand that this might be frustrating for some people, but it is important that they do not impact the performance of the game by doing so. To celebrate the launch, everyone will be getting one free alpha pack when it launches on your platform. They will be publishing a blog update on this and an FAQ with more information pertaining to the alpha packs next week. When they do, I will of course be breaking that down and giving you all the information as soon as it does come out. So the news regarding alpha packs is kind of good that it's coming a little sooner than we had maybe thought, but also kind of confusing because we're not clear exactly how they are coming out. That information we're going to have to wait another week to get our hands on. So it sounds like they might be beginning to roll some of the alpha pack stuff out during this patch, but just not right away. When they do give us more specifics, I will definitely be going over all of that with you guys. So what do you guys think about this? This is a very small patch. There's only a few items that are directly affected by it, but some of them are kind of interesting. What do you guys think about alpha packs? How about the changes to the spawn on Canal? After not fixing it the way the community liked the first time, what do you think about this second stab at it? Let me know down in the comments below or shoot me a message over at IcyCat25 on either Facebook or Twitter. If you haven't already, please consider liking and subscribing to stay up to date on all the latest news, tips, tricks, and information for Rainbow Six Siege. As always, thanks a lot for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.